Hey everyone, I hope everything is going well with you. So in this episode we are going to customize the functionality of how our users are going to purchase several items from the market. Now to do this, it is going to require us to actually finalizing the functionality behind the two buttons that are existing inside our table. So if we take a closer look to our website, then we can remember that we have those two buttons, which one of them displays more info about that specific item, and the other one is actually a button that will lead our users to purchase that item. So it is going to be a lot of fun to write the code behind the scenes of what happens when we click on one of them. So let's get started. Okay, so if we take a closer look on how our market page is displayed to our users, we'd actually like to change this display a little bit. And the way that we want to do this, probably one way that we can do that, is to divide this page into two main sections. And then the first part of this page is going to be responsible to display the available items on the market, and the other part is going to be responsible to show the items that I already purchased as a user from the market. So it could have been a lot nicer if we had a division where we display all the items in the left pane and the purchased items in the right pane. So it is going to be more focused page about the entire website itself. So the way that we can do this is by gridding system of the Bootstrap styling framework. So let's have a look in the Bootstrap documentation. So I will go to here and I'm inside the gridding system documentation of Bootstrap. Now you can see that we have several examples how we can divide our page. Now I'd like to show this section in here. So this section includes a div tag and it says that class equals to row. Now the gridding system could be implemented the second that you create a div tag with a class of row, because it is just as it sounds, because it is going to create a row that is going to be expanded to the entire page. So we could grab the row that is created and we could customize the way that we'd like to divide it. So the way that this could be divided is by creating some call tags, column, inside this div class equals to row. So the second that you see this and this is going to be responsible to align our HTML pages in the following way. So we could already start imagining this, because in the call-8 area we are going to display the available items on our market, and on the call-4 area we are going to display the purchased items. So let's go ahead and start implementing this, and if you did not understand what I explained, then it is fine. You probably will get it as we will start implementing this on our real website. So I will allow myself to copy this code statement from here and paste this in right under our block content like that. Okay, so let's fix the indentation a little bit and then we are good to go. So the second that I do this, then let's see the results, what is going to look like. So I will allow myself to refresh our website. And then you can see the alignment. Okay, this is exactly what we want. So we are going to grab our entire table and we are going to locate it right where the call-8 starts. So let's go back to our PyCharm. And actually I will allow myself to cut this entire table from here and paste this in under our call-8 div tag. So we will delete this text from here and we will click on enter and we will basically paste our table. Now I know that the indentation is quite ugly, but I'm going to fix that with a prettier just in a second. So if we save that and go and see the results of that, then you can see that this is perfect and this is exactly what we want, because the available items are exactly on the left pane. Now we'd also like to give some spacing to that table, so I will create some more styling elements to that row, so our table would have a little bit more spacing starting from the left and also from the top. So let's go back and do this. So I will start writing right where our div class row is. Something like style equals to margin dash top. And then add a colon, and then we could say 20 pixels. So we'd like to give a spacing of 20 pixels. And we could do the exact same thing for margin dash left. And we will say 20 pixels as well. Now this is going to be responsible to show the table, I mean the division of the grading system in that way, and I think this looks a lot cleaner right now. Okay, so I said that we like to fix the indentation. Now you got a couple of ways to do that. You can install some plugin to PyCharm that is going to customize the indentation automatically for you. But you could also basically search for an HTML prettier in the web browser. So it will be as easy as going to Google Chrome and search for something like HTML prettier, and we could go and click on the first result, and we could grab our code and we could paste this in, and we could click on format HTML, and this will be responsible to already customize the indentation for us. So you could click the copy to clipboard section and go back to PyCharm and paste this back in, and we are good to go. Okay, so you got a lot of ways of how you can do this. So I like this approach as well, but you can definitely go ahead and install some plugin to your PyCharm, or if you use another IDE like Visual Code, there are a lot of plugins for those kind of stuff. Alright, so let's continue implementing the logic of the buttons that we like to give their functionality. Now, to avoid actually confusions and to remember for the future, I like to give the call dash for name something else. So we could say here owned items, something like that, and we could fix here the div tags like this as well. So it will be easier to remember in the future that we like to implement here the owned items with some Jinja syntax as well. Okay, so if we scroll up here, then you can see that we don't got any title that describes what the left pane is about. So it could have been a lot nicer if we would go right above the table tag and we could write in some h2 tags, for example, and we will close those tags, and we could say available items on the market, something like that. So it will be a lot easier for the users to catch up what the left pane of our page is about. Now, further than that, we could also add one more paragraph in here that says click on one of the items to start buying. Okay, so something like that could be a nice secondary title as well, and we should write here lower I, so it makes a lot more sense. And I'd actually like to add some more BR tags in here to really see how it affects the entire page. So let's see the result of that, and you can totally see that it looks a lot cleaner on our eyes. When we look at it, we can really understand what the left pane is about, and we could really do the exact same steps in the right pane where we'd like to display the owned items. So we could basically go back to PyCharm and copy those lines and paste this in right here. So we could say in here, let's change the text to owned items like that, and we could say click on sell item to put an item back on the market, something like that. Okay, so the results of that would be something like the following. So I'm just fixing the indentation, and if we go back to the market page, then we can see that now the items page are totally fine, and we could continue on implementing the logic behind those buttons. Okay, so now I'm inside the Bootstrap documentation again, and I'd like to show you some of the nicest features that the Bootstrap styling framework gives us. So we have something in Bootstrap that is called Modals. Now this is not the models like we see in the Flask itself. Okay, so Modals allows us to kind of display a nice new output to our users, and it totally focuses us to really look at the new output that appears to us because it grays the entire background of the web page. So let's actually see a demo of that. So we have this HTML code in here, which is basically responsible to display the modal that I'm talking about. And basically this modal could be configured as a behind the scenes functionality of what happens when we click on a button. So when we click on launch demo modal in here, then you can see the result of that. So this is exactly what we like to do when we want to display some more information about each one of our items, and the exact same process is going to be like displaying an ensuring form if we are sure that we want to purchase that item. So this is perfectly what we need for our website. Now the way that we can implement this on our site is probably the exact same steps, like creating an HTML code that is quite similar to that, and then we could connect our buttons with that modal. Now to actually save us a little bit of time, I already customized a nice looking model for us, so let's go ahead and see how we can do this on our items HTML. Okay, so I'm back inside our market.html file. Now if you remember from the demonstration that we saw previously, that the button and the modal element that was faded out are actually located in the same code snippet. So what this means? It means that the modal and the button itself should be located in the same HTML file, but actually pasting the modal itself in this market.html file could be very confusing because it is going to be a lot of lines of HTML code in this market.html, and this is just not organized and could lead to misunderstanding what each HTML code is responsible for. So to avoid this, we could locate our modal in a separated HTML template, and then this market.html could import this modal that we want to create. Now the way that is going to be designed, it is by creating one more directory that we will name it includes, and within that includes directory that we are going to create, we are going to create some HTML files that are going to be like helper files, so we could import the code snippet from each one of them. Now let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I will go inside our templates directory and we will create a new directory and we will name it includes. Now once we have done that, then we can create a HTML file inside that includes directory that we have created, and we'd like to name it items underscore modals, like that. And let's actually delete the auto-generated HTML from here, and in here I'm going to paste the modal that I talked about to really save us some time. So if we paste this in, then this is how the modal looks like when it comes to implementing this in HTML. Now I want to give a short overview about what this HTML code is about. So you can see that we have this div tag, and then we have a class that says modal fade, so this is going to be faded, and this is the identifier text from here. Now we are going to use it in the future, so this attribute is actually quite important for us. And we can also see that we have some h5 tag inside our modal content, and I said that the title is actually goes here, and we also see that we have a class with modal body, and here we are going to display the actual information that we'd like to display in the body of the modal. Okay, so this is pretty much the important sections of what this modal is about. Now the way that this could be imported in the market.html is by using the Jinja syntax. So if we go to here, then we could basically import it. Let's say that we want to import this in here. Now we could say something like the following. So I will zoom in a little bit, and we could say include, and we will open a single quote here, and then we want to give the location of that HTML file that we'd like to include. So it is going to be includes /items underscore modals .html, like that. Okay, so once we have done this, then it is basically going to use the code from here and locate it inside this market.html. Now, to explain the next topic that I'm going to talk about, I'd like to divide the display here. So I will go to Window and Editor tabs and select Split Vertically. Okay, so in the left pane we have our items modals, and in the right pane we have the market.html. So let's zoom in here, and as well as let's go here to the button of more info. Now, if I now go to our web browser and refresh our page and click on more info, then you can see that nothing happens. And the reason that nothing happens, it is basically because this button doesn't know which modal it should trigger. So we should specify some more attributes to that button. So let's go to our PyCharm and right in here, so I'm going to scroll a bit, and right where our more info button is, I'm going to specify some HTML attributes that are quite important for this trigger to work. So I will say data-toggle equals to modal, like that, and I'm going to scroll here a little bit more and zoom in so we can all see. And right after it, I'm also going to say data-target equals to. Now the value that we'd like to give here is the exact same name of the identifier of the modal that we'd like to display. So this is why I said previously that this identifier string is going to be quite important for us in the future. So I will allow myself to copy this entire string and paste this in right inside our data target. Now we should also include the hashtag sign to really specify correctly the target that is going to basically displayed when we click on that button. Okay, so now we can allow ourselves to test this out. So I will go to our page, and if we refresh that out and click on more info, then you can see that we can see our modal, and this is quite great. Now we can also see if we click on the other more info, because it is implemented for both of the buttons. Now you could pay attention that the background of this modal is white, and we probably want to change it to really make it fit to our entire website. So the way that we can do that is going to our items.modals, which is right there, and write in some more styling that will be responsible to customize the background color for the background color that we want. So we will create some style tags, and inside that style tags I will say .modal -content, and I will open a curly brackets in here, and inside that I can say background color is going to be equal to the hexadecimal value of our background color, so it will be 212121, like that. Okay, so we can save this out and refresh our page with F5. Now if the regular refresh doesn't work for you, sometimes the combination of Control F5 is a stronger refresh, so it also loads the entire styling again. So I recommend you to do that if the regular refresh is not working for you. So I will do that as well. And if I click now on more info, then you can see that it is implemented correctly. And we can also see the title unlike the previous result. And the reason we did not see this before, it is basically because the title color was also white, so we could not see that. And now it looks a lot better than the previous result. Alright, so now I want to solve some important problem that we have on the website. Now I will open this from here, and we want to display the button itself right here. Okay, so if you paid attention in the website itself, we saw that if we click on more info, no matter which item is, then we see the exact same information. Now we probably look for a way to change this behavior, because we want to show different paragraphs for each of our items. So what this means, it means that our modals should be unique per item. So the way that we can implement the logic that I talked about is by the following way. So let's go back to our PyCharm and see that. Okay, so right here, you can see that we have an iteration with a for loop that is right inside our market.html, and this is why we see the different items. Now you can see that our button is targeting to the modal more info. So it is always going to pull that modal itself, and it is not going to be unique per item. So the way that we can change this is changing the location of where we import that modal and actually import it inside our for loop, and that way we can customize it to be unique per item. So let's go ahead and do that. Now I will make this market.html bigger for a second, and I will grab the code snippet, which is includes items modals HTML, and I will paste this in right inside our for loop like that. Okay, so now I made the items underscore modals a little bit bigger in here, and the market is still on the right pane. So now that I have completed this step, basically what is happening here now is that we start our for loop, and then we load our items modals HTML, and we do that for each item that we are iterating on. So what that means? It means that this items underscore modals HTML is having the access for the item object, and I'm talking about this exact variable where my mouse is located at. So what this means? It means that we can refer to that item right inside our items modals HTML file. So this is quite important because we want to turn our models to be unique per item. So we will start by changing the identifier to something like dash, and then we will call those Jinja brackets, and we can say item dash ID. Now by doing this, we basically give a unique ID for each modal. And now we could also do that for the title of our modal. So we probably want to display the title as the item's name. So we could say item.name like that, and we could also say inside our modal body something like the following. So we could say item.description, because if you remember, we have a description field for each of our items. And now this is great, and we have completed the customization of the items underscore modal. Now I'm going to work on the market.html, and if you can remember, our data target is now pointing to a wrong location because it should be the same as the identifier string of the modal itself. So now I will copy this out and I will paste this in like that. And now that I have done this, then basically we were able to achieve to create modals that are unique per item. So let's test the result of that. Okay, I'm going to go to our browser and I'm going to refresh that out. And now if I click on more info, then you can see that we have the title as iPhone 10 and we have the description that we have created for the iPhone 10. Now if I close this and click on more info in the second item, then you can see that the title is changing and as well as the description. So this is perfect because now we have modals that are unique per item. Okay, so now we know that when we click on more info that the result is great, but the purchase this item is not configured yet. Now the entire process for the purchase this item is going to be quite same, because all we have to do now is basically creating one new modal that is going to be dedicated for purchasing an item, and we probably want to display the same modal pretty much, and this is going to be like a verification modal that asks the user if he is sure that he wants to purchase this item. So it is also a good opportunity to really understand the entire process that we have done here. So this is going to be just basically the same as what we have done with more info. So let's go ahead and implement this as well. So I will go back to our PyCharm and I will make the items modals bigger a little bit, and we will make the font smaller. Now you could pay attention that this is the code for the entire modal. So I can basically copy the exact same code and change the attributes that we have changed in the previous example as well. So I will copy the entire code and I will paste this in right here. Now you can see that this gives us an error because it says us that we have a duplicate ID reference. Now this is great because we probably want to avoid to having the same identifier string. So this is why it makes a lot of sense to change this to something like purchase confirm, like that. And maybe in the title itself, we'd like to leave it as the item underscore name, but it makes totally sense to go inside our modal body and give it here some different text. So this could be something like, are you sure you want to buy? And then we could say item.name. And then we could continue this sentence by saying for, and now we can add the price for that item, so it will be item.price. And if you remember, it displays it just as the number itself, so we could add a $sign, and right after it we could include a question mark. Okay, so it is important that we display this sentence in here, and I think this is pretty much great for now. And only we'd like to change the comment here to something like purchase confirm, like that. Okay, so now we have a new identifier that should be implemented for the green button that we have on our website. So now we can create the market HTML bigger and we could change the values for this button. So we should also create the same attributes like we did in the previous button as well. So we could create data toggle equals to modal, like that, and we could say data dash target equals to, and here is again the exact location that I want to paste the value of the identifier. So I will paste this in and make sure that you do the exact same thing as well. So this is great. And now I can save this and go to our website. And if we refresh that out, then we could basically try to click on purchase this item for iPhone 10 and nothing happens. So what we have missed, let's see. Data target, okay. Good mistake. So don't forget to add the hashtag sign as well. It is quite important. So we also have done that for the previous one. So it is very important. And now if we refresh this page and click on purchase this item, then you can see the perfect result that we probably wanted to see. So we see the title again and we see the sentence that says, are you sure you want to buy iPhone 10 for $800? So this is perfect, okay? This is actually the logic that we wanted to implement from the very beginning. And on the next part, we are also going to include some more buttons inside this modal that are probably going to be responsible to actually buy this item. So the close button only closes the modal, but we'd like to add some more buttons into that modal. And then if we click on that button, then it will make sure that the process of purchasing is going to be implemented for that specific user. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know that we learned a lot again, and on the next one we are actually going to finish the configuration of what this purchase this item button is going to do. So inside that modal we probably want to create some more buttons, and then if we click on that button that is going to ensure the purchase, then we'd like to create some post requests to really assign an ownership to the user that is logged in. Okay, so if you like this video, hit the thumbs up button and also consider subscribing to my channel as well. And I will see you on my next episode.